Thank you. Geopolitics is a reasonably exciting time for all of us involved in that field. And I think for India right now, as is true for many other, should you say, middle powers, the difficulties we face right now are that India's always had a reasonably hostile relationship with China, one superpower. We now have an extremely difficult relationship, though not necessarily a hostile one, but at least a transactional one with the United States. So how exactly does India handle this, and how do other parts of the world see these problems is why we're here. So let me begin with Michael, since he's the American in the room. So why don't we begin with you and ask you, where do you see the U.S. going, and where do you think India, how should India be responding to this?
Yeah, so I would say these days being an American in Washington doesn't necessarily mean that one can get a good pulse in terms of what's going on, because it's very difficult to predict the current administration. But I would make one top-line comment here. I think that what we've seen with the second Trump administration is that it has taken what I would describe as an aggressively transactional and commercial approach to foreign policy on the whole, much more so than what we saw with the first Trump administration. And this is something that has implications for India. And basically what I mean here is that trade is the core lens through which the administration sees its diplomatic relations. And that means that its first consideration is going to be, what is this country doing that could undercut or threaten U.S. economic interests? And tariffs is a trade imbalance that does not in America's favor is going to be a concern. And of course, with India, we know that President Trump has always expressed concerns about Indian tariffs. You know, this is not new. We haven't only been hearing this in recent weeks and recent months. And so India came into the crosshairs. And if we look at how the U.S.-India relationship reached a point of crisis, I think we have to start at the fact that the Trump administration has singled out India as a core offender when it comes to those countries that have economic policies that can undercut America's own economic interests. And as we've gone through the first few months of this second Trump administration, I would argue as well that the administration has seen the way in which India has gone about its interactions with the Trump administration as something that's concerning. And that includes not making as many concessions as the administration would have liked to see it make in trade negotiations. And so that certainly has had an impact on the relationship as well. In terms of moving forward, how should India look at the situation? I would just make one comment here that we need to distinguish between what we've been seeing and hearing from the White House when it comes to India and what we've been seeing and hearing when it comes to other areas of the U.S. government. I would argue that generally speaking in D.C., there's a continued desire to work with India, a view that India continues to be a strategic partner. And I think that we could see things settle down in due course. But I think one question moving forward, and I'll end here, is will those not in the White House be able to carve out the agency and the policy space to drive policy toward India? I think if that starts to happen, we'll start to see some of these tensions in the relationship calm down a bit.